Okay, this has turned into one of those projects that is, you know, I should just expect all boat projects to be a complete nightmare. Got all the tools out again, and this is a rod holder video, so if you want to learn how to install rod holders in your deck, that one right there, right there, total pain. I'm going to have to make the one on the other side a pain as well. Had to cut the deck. I'm going to have to build up the deck a little bit with some 610 or what's it called? I can never remember what it's called. G-Flex. I'll have to build the deck back up to get the screws in. I'll show you that in a second. But first, let me show you these rod holders, how functional they are, and then why I wanted to add 2 more to the front. Stay tuned. So that is how they sit. They're angled 15 degrees out, one on each side. And what we do with these is, it's a great place to put the rod if you're just fishing with some chunk bait, right? Or shrimp. It's also a great place to put the rod when you're trolling. Trolling, you may ask, right? Flats boat? Well, we've got kingfish just slightly offshore, and trolling for them is very productive. So this puts 2 spots for rods on either side, and then because of these rod holders right here on the pulling platform, I can put 4 lines out and troll for, you know, kings along the beach, and it's been really productive. They serve as a cup holder, so on a flats boat, it's always nice to have a few cup holders, and I love them. They make an amazing trip hazard with a bottle in them, just so you know. This one is 0 degree, so straight up and down, and that is really functional for this live well. So if I've got a fish that's kind of stubborn, doesn't want to come off, but I'm keeping him, I can put the rod right here. So number 1, drink holder for me while I'm driving, and great place to stick the rod while you're trying to get it off the hook in the live well. So 0 degree, 15 degree. Fast forward to the front here, and I use these 2 for chunk bait off the bow, right? So put the power pole down, power pole's right there, and send chunk bait off the front, or shrimp or whatever, and I can do 2 lines, and I'd really like to do 4 lines. So I had the great idea to put 2 rod holders in the deck, in the bow. Well, this boat has a pretty decent overhang right here, you can see, and right back here, because this gunnel is pretty vertical, they cleared with no problem. Well, up here at the bow, they did not clear. And I had to cut the hole a couple times, reshape the hole. You can see all that angle right there really caused a problem. Hear that? That is my birthday present from my kids. Isn't that nice? They're copper. They've patinaed, and they make this really deep sound. I love it. Anyway, so let me show you the Nightmare and why I wanted to put it right here versus centered or really anywhere else along here. So I just replaced the trolling motor, and this trolling motor comes with its own stabilizer foot right here on the side. Look at all that junk I've got to clean up. Being on the end of the canal has its benefits and disadvantages. That's one of them. Anyway, this old trolling motor that I had a stabilizing foot right there, right in the middle, and I had this right here in this hole. This was a polished fender washer that I polished, and it was right here, and it's where the foot came down when the trolling motor was stowed. So one of my goals was to get rid of this. So I wanted to get this as far as I could towards the gunnel, You can see how oblong this is. I had to drill it out a couple times. And the goal was to cover up this hole because I can clean up this dirt no problem. So I got that close right there, and I'm gonna grind this a little bit more. Let me show you what I mean by grind. So what's happening is the bottom of the rod holder is hitting the inside of the hull right there. See where those scratches are? That's where it's hitting. So what I've done is I've started grinding this down. You can see it's got plenty of meat. I can take off a 1/4 inch there and it will be no problem. And I've got it unbelievably close. Now, I do want this thing to stick out that way, 15 degrees. So I'll have one here, and this is gonna hit the tiki thing, but I'll be able to get a kind of a decent idea. It'll sit like that. I'd have to take the boat off the lift to really see how it's gonna sit, but imagine that. Rod there straight up, rod there straight up, rod here 15 degrees out, rod there 15 degrees out. That'll be a great bow fishing 4 baits in the water program. So, I'm going to grind this a little bit more so I can get it as close to it as a gunnel as I can. And because I want it to be equal distance right there, I'm going to end up having to grind this side also. So let me show you how I'm grinding this down. Actually, I'll show you how to grind the other one, because this now completely covers the hole. So see right there, there's the hole. My goal is to cover that hole, and I've accomplished that. And you can see right here, if I go a little bit too far, it starts to lift. So there's this sweet spot where it's perfectly flat against the deck and covers the hole right like that. So that right there, I can't stick my fingernail under there. That is the sweet spot. I'm right here against the non-skid, and I have plenty of meat here and not enough there and none here, because I had to manipulate the hole to get it to fit the way I wanted it to fit. So this is going to be the permanent home, and I'm going to mark this. I brought a Sharpie out here, and I'm going to mark this here because this is where I want this hole. I'm going to mark it here because I have to build that up a little bit, and then I can't mark it here, so I'm going to put a piece of tape here and put an arrow where I need to build this up with epoxy so that I have something to send the screw into. Trial and error, it is what it is. It'll look amazing once it's done, but what's under here will look a little jacked. It is what it is. So let's get to work. So as I mentioned, I just need to know in the general area that I got to build up the hole. I'm able to mark this one hole there because there was just enough deck left, but no deck left on the last one where the tape is. So I decided to just cut a little piece of cardboard and vice grip it there in place, and that just gives the epoxy something to sit on. And that mixture of epoxy, it's just G-Flex from West Systems. I use it for everything. You should have this stuff in your house. It's fantastic. I probably could have let it sit for a little bit longer so it's not as runny, but it was good enough. And once I get a little bit in there and pressed up against the whole lining, this is a cord deck, so it's got fiberglass on the bottom, fiberglass on the top, and then like a foam core in the middle. So my objective was to get some of that G-Flex into the foam core to really give it something to grab onto. And then I just folded up some cardboard and made these little walls to keep it up against the edge of the hole. I'm going to use the hole saw later to reshape this. So I really wasn't worried about making the hole too small with the epoxy. So, I know the shadow's in the way, but I just put some cardboard back there and put two little walls up, because really all I need is a little bit more there, like I said, and then something here to screw into. That'll work perfectly. So I'm gonna let that sit up for a little while. So here's how I decided to do this. If you have a better way, please drop it in the comments, because this just seemed to make sense to me. But what I did was I continued the masking tape to create a point right here, because you can see the texture on the gel coat is curved. And then I'm able to measure from here to here, which is 3 inches, and then up a ½ inch for that first hole. Then, because I know where my other hole is right here, I was able to extend the tape over so I get a straight line up to measure across to this hole. And when I do that, come over 3 inches from here and line up the hole, or the hole in the template with the dot on the deck. And then this one here is a little bit off, right? And the reason why that is my measurement system is not perfect, but I rotate this thing a little bit in order to line up with that hole. So you can see that I'm either off a 1/4 inch or 1/8 of an inch this way or this way based on this measurement. But because this is a 3 1/4 inch hole and I'm drilling a 3 1/2 inch hole, I have a 1/4 inch to move the rod holder around in whatever hole I drill here. So I think that if I err on the side of too far this way, I'll be safe. Another tip when you do this, don't drill all the way through it, because it'll fall into the deck and you won't be able to get it. So what I like to do is just kind of break it the rest of the way, and that way it doesn't fall on the deck. Truth. And as suspected, it does not fit. But part of the problem on this one is these rod holder things are in the way. So the problem is this rod holder is in the way, so I'm going to have to get in there and cut that. On the other side, the rod holder is just either not as long or just different. You know, the boats are handmade, so it goes. All right, now for cutting that. Jeez, Milwaukee tools to the rescue. This should hopefully do the trick. I'll be able to get in there, and without beating the crap out of the hull, I should be able to cut this. Oh, that is beautiful. And it sits flat. I don't even have to grind it. Thank God. Maybe not. bet I could still get a rod holder in there, because a rod in there, because it blocks about that much. Blocks about this much. So the rod tip would probably just hit here and go off to the side, maybe. I hardly ever use it, so I have zero concern. I'm just happy that that works. And look, that's how far off I was. About 1/8 of an inch. But it's really this one that matters, because you can see the right there. And this is angled out right about like that. That's gonna be perfect. These are this is what I'm talking about, these rod holders right here. And when I go shark fishing, I do actually use that. So let's stick, let me get you back far enough. And let's stick that rod in there and see what happens. So the shark fishing rod is pretty big. And oh yeah, it doesn't even matter. Doesn't even matter. That's awesome. Every once in a while, stuff works out. A couple more tips for this project. Always keep your glue mix-up board so you know when the stuff is hard. Also, know what's under here. So I knew, because I know this boat, that that space under there just drains under this hatch and through to the bilge. I know that because I have a port that or an access that I cut in the anchor locker to reach my hand in to through bolt these screws that hold this deck gear stool in place. So I know that under there is just hull, and it drains into a pipe. Actually, the pipe starts here under the fuel tank. This area under this hatch is just nothing but empty hull, and all the water just drains in. You could stick a water hose in there and it would just end up in the bilge. It's no problem. What else? Also, I'm gonna stick this somewhere where hopefully the wind won't catch it. These are polished, obviously. And when you look at this one, you'll see that the screws are polished and these screws are not polished. So while we're waiting for that to cure, let's go ahead and polish these up. I forgot to show you how I ground the rod holder to make it fit. It's just the other side of this machine. One side is a grinding stone, the other side is a polishing wheel. I got this from Harbor Freight, super cheap. I use it all the time. And you can see with a little rouge how quickly these stainless screws get to a mirror finish. It really looks beautiful. And it's time to take this cardboard out of here. I really didn't want to pull loose from the G-Flex. I had to just kind of tear it out. And once I tore out all that cardboard support, I was able to just stick the hole saw back in there and reshape the hole so that the rod holder would fit back in there. Wasn't really concerned cosmetically, how it looked, because it's all going to be covered. And there is still plenty of deck to seal the rod holder in there from, a silicone perspective. You'll see that in a minute. I use a ton of silicone. But anyway, I wasn't really sure how this was going to turn out, but super simple and plenty of material to send those screws into. here I wanted to clean up this dirty mark from where the washer used to be, and I did not want to get a bunch of water in the hole, or more importantly in the core area there. So I started off by taping it up, and I used some on and off gel. That worked pretty well. I then used a couple of other different chemicals, some Clorox cleanup, and then some FSR gel, and the combination of some Clorox cleanup and FSR gel got 99% of it off. You can see it better in the camera than you can see it with your own eyes, but 1 or 2 times out fishing in the sun is likely to bleach it out. All right, well, I've done my best on that stain. Unfortunately, it's still there. I'm just going to have to let the sun take care of it. And so next up, we're going to drill these holes, and you need 2 drill bits for that. So first one is the size that you want for the pilot hole. Second one is the larger one to take up the gel coat so it doesn't crack. I'll show you what I mean here in a minute. So first, got the ground one. Don't want to mix those up. We're going to position this so that it is the most outward that we can. Yep, right there. And we're going to drill this right here in the middle. After checking this like 15 times to make sure that I had the angle as outward as possible, but still forward, I went ahead and drilled the holes. And the reason why you need 2 drill bits is first you drill the pilot hole, like I'm about to do after I stop obsessing that I've got it in the right spot. And then after you drill your pilot holes, you need to drill out the gel coat much larger so that none of the screw touches the gel coat. Otherwise, gel coat is very brittle. You will end up with spider cracks that will come out from that hole over time when the deck heats up or the boat hits waves and flexes. So if you do what I'm about to do here and drill out a significantly larger hole, about 1/8 of an inch into it, 1/16 of an inch, you just want to get past the gel coat and past a little bit of where the gel coat adheres to the first layer of resin, so that you're guaranteed to just completely clear that area, and you won't get any cracks by doing this. So the other thing is, because I'm drilling into G-flex in the other 2 holes, for this particular one, I decided to go ahead and secure the rod holder all the way down with the 1 screw, so that when I marked and drilled the other 2, if the drill bit chattered, off to one side, I'd be able to know that and see it, because the rod holder would not move around from this point, because that 1 back screw is totally tight. Now this side was drilling into part deck, part G-flex, but this one over here is 100% G-flex, and you can see how strong this stuff is just by how long it's taking the drill to go through it. Stuff's incredible. So I have absolutely no fear that this is going to be just as solid as if I was sending it right down through original decking, and I didn't have to monkey around with this hole as I experimented on how far to the edge I could get this rod holder. What I'm doing here is kind of drilling into that little bit of gel coat that could potentially hit the screw, just so I don't end up with any cracks. I'm going to load the outside of this with silicone. Pretty generous. Now, you might think that this is a little bit ridiculous, the quantity of silicone that I'm using. Well, here's why I'm doing that. This rod holder really only has about 1/8 of an inch of a lip that touches the deck, and the rest of it is indented. So I'm trying to accomplish a couple things here. Number one, I want plenty of silicone to ooze out because I'm going to wipe it all away, but I also want to fulfill that void entirely so that I'm not relying on just this little 1/8 inch seal. I really don't want water getting in between the rod holder and the deck, mainly because it'll stain. You'll end up with this, staining that'll come out from whatever water oozes in and out. Second, you want to make sure that you wipe all of this silicone away and only rely on what's in. This is not like you're caulking a bathroom. Get rid of all of the silicone. The only thing that's productive is what's underneath the rod holder. Also, I'm trying to get the silicone out of the screw holes, because if you don't get all that silicone out of the screw holes, when you send the screws in, the silicone's going to kind of ooze and curl up around the screw hole, up around the screw. And then you'll end up wiping the silicone into the Phillips head, and then you're going to be, with a Q-tip trying to get that silicone out of the Phillips, grooves in the screw. So your best bet is to do this twice. One time, try to get all of the silicone off, and then put the screws in, tighten it down, more silicone will ooze out. Then try to get all that silicone off, and then you're done. With these Milwaukee impact drivers, you do not want this set on maximum. I have this set, I think, in the middle. Reason is you will break that screw right off. The head will break right off, and then you cause yourself a ton of work. So you hear it clicking. This is probably number 2, but definitely not the most powerful setting on the brushless one, because it'll break the screw right off. Okay, after staring at this for a while, I finally figured out how I'm going to line it up. So I basically took this tape, lined it up perfectly with the little cross member down in the bottom of the rod lock that locks it in there. Little bar, that little bar. So that gave me a straight line. And I put a tape across there, taped an end here off the non-skid, and then I was able to take this little piece right here in the middle and move it from side to side to get exactly the same angle on each side. So now that I am satisfied that both rods are going to be slightly forward, 15 degrees out at the same angle, I'm going to go ahead and do what I did on the other side, which is start the holes. And I think that's all there is to it. I'm going to put the boat out in the canal here and test it. I'll go get some rods, make sure everything's right. It's kind of too late for that, but it'd be nice to see. This is, you know, as designed. It doesn't work without the trolling motor being in the water, which is how I fish, off the bow anyway. So I'm fine with that, but they are symmetrical in the right place. I think they look great. Let's back the boat out and get a couple more rods and see, make sure everything looks right. Well, there we go. Perfect. That is exactly what I wanted. Let's get back a little further. There we go. All at the right angle. Pretty nice. That concludes this video. Let this dry overnight and then I'll wash the deck. It's pretty dirty, as you can see. But as always, thanks for watching. Please subscribe. See ya.